What is going on, everybody? It is me again. It is Horror Fan 34, and welcome to another video. And I am very, very late with doing this because I am so lazy when it comes to convention videos and things like that. I always delay these and things like that, but I guess better late than never. I know I just got done filming my review for the 2025 Superman film from this year, but I've been wanting to do this video for a while. It was the last convention I went to back in May in my hometown of Philadelphia at Philly Fan Expo. So this will be sort of my recap video from Philly Fan Expo. And I'm trying to remember, did I pick up anything from the vendor? Yeah, I actually picked up 2 Blu-rays from the vendors. Maybe I'll get them over here and I'll show you guys. I can find them. Let's see. Oh yeah, here they are. Yeah, I did pick up 2 Blu-rays from the Philly Fan Expo. But here they are right here. I did pick up Silent Night back a few months ago, which I never got this when it was in stores and Walmarts and all that stuff. So I figured I'd grab this, and I also grabbed the Truman Show on Blu-ray to finally upgrade this for my DVD. So I was really happy to find these 2. So let me just put these back real quick. I just figured I'd show you guys those before we get on to the autographs and things like that. So just put everything back to where it was at. Let's see. Okay. Now that we showed that stuff, now we're getting on to the main meat and potatoes of the video, but it's the autographs and the celebrities. So a few months back, when I went to this, I met 3 people, 3 total people altogether, and I must say, this is one of my favorite conventions I've ever been to. And it's probably my favorite of the Philly Fan Expos I've been to. This is my 3rd time going because it's once a year. The first year I only met Henry Winkler, which was awesome. And then last year I met Ethan Suplee, Brandon Rogers, and Dana Barron. But this year probably is my favorite year because of how nice all 3 of these people were. These 3 people that I met are definitely some of my favorites I've ever met at a convention. Like these are 3 of the nicest people I've ever met at a convention, and I'll get into them right now. So the first person that I met at this show was my screen was freezing there for a second, sorry. The first person that I met was Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Of course, all of you know him as McLovin from Superbad, and he's been in Role Models and How to Train Your Dragon movies and the Kick-Ass films as Red Mist. But my personal favorite thing that he was ever in was Evil Ed in the Fright Night remake. I always thought the Fright Night remake was criminally underrated. I thought it was so underappreciated. I feel like it deserves a lot more credit, and I'm a huge fan of the original Fright Night with Chris Sarandon and Roddy McDowall and Stephen Jeffries. But I really felt like the Fright Night remake was a lot of fun as well, and I really did think the cast does a great job. Especially, it was cool to see Christopher Mintz-Plasse in a horror film, and I really thought he did a pretty good job as Evil Ed. So I printed out my own photo because he didn't have any Evil or Fright Night photos at his table. So I'm glad I printed out one of my own for him. And Christopher Mintz-Plasse was a really, really nice guy. I talked to this guy. I talked to all these people for at least like 5 or so minutes total each, especially the second guest. But I'll get into that more. But Christopher Mintz-Plasse was a really, really nice guy. I talked to this guy for a little bit. He was really appreciative that I brought up a Fright Night photo to him because he holds the film really close to him because he was really great friends with Anton Yelchin, who's one of the stars of the Fright Night remake. And, of course, Anton Yelchin has passed away for almost 10 years now, which is crazy. I always thought he was a really great actor. So I was asking, Chris, I was like asking him like, hey, how was it working with Anton Yelchin? He was like, oh my god, like the dude was the best and things like that. He was telling me a really funny story about how him and Anton Yelchin smoked some of the worst weed on the set of the film. So I thought that was pretty damn funny. And it was just Christopher Mintz-Plasse was just talking about his relationship with Anton Yelchin and working with him and things like that, which is really cool to hear and things like that. And like I said, he said that's why he was so appreciative that I brought up Fright Night to him, because that's a film he holds dear to him because of Anton Yelchin. So couldn't have asked for a more nicer guy. And we were talking about basketball and like Knicks and Sixers and things like that. So it was just a cool conversation to just be talking all kinds of stuff with this guy and things like that. You couldn't have asked for a more nicer guy than Christopher Mintz-Plasse. He was a great start to the convention, or to this convention, I should say. So I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be showing the picture of the celebrity and things like that. I did not get any photos of them signing this time around because you never know with Philly Fan Expo. You don't want to be taking like candid photos and things like that. So I decided not to this time because it was a lot. The show had a lot more bigger names to them, so I didn't there was like Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, things like that. There was a lot more bigger names. I did not want to risk getting in trouble for taking candid photos, which I usually do, but for this one it'll be just just the picture of me and the celebrity and the autographed items. So that's all it's going to be for this one. So here is my picture with me and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. And here's a picture of the autographed item that Christopher Mintz-Plasse signed for me. So here that is. Okay, now moving on to the next person that I met. The next person I met was definitely, for me, the VIP of the whole con. I was completely blown away by how wonderful she was, how nice she was, and like I said, like all three of these people were awesome. Like really, really nice people, all three of them were. But this one especially was the main VIP, and that is Heather Graham. I mean, what more can I say about Heather Graham? This lady has been around for many years, doing all kinds of great stuff like Austin Powers, Spy Who Shagged Me, Boogie Nights, Hangover 1 and 3, even things like I think Say It Ain't So with Say It Ain't So. I think she was in I think Killing Me Softly. I think she was in. I think that's what it was called. But of course, I really wanted her for License to Drive as Mercedes Lane, the love interest to Corey Haim's character in the film. So I really wanted to add her on my License to Drive DVD. And like I said, Heather was the VIP of the whole show. She was so nice to everybody. She was so nice to me. Took her time with every single guest, things like that. And when I got up to meet her, I was asking her about License to Drive, and she's like, "Yeah, I haven't got really too many of License to Drive stuff." The day I met her, it was more Austin Powers or Scream people for Scream 2. But not many people brought up License to Drive to her, and she was like so accommodating. She asked me what my name was, and she was asking me, "Would you like me to write a character name for you?" And I said yes, and she was more than happy to do the character name. She gave me the full character name. She was saying to me, "Do you want me to write Mercedes, or do you want me to write Mercedes Lane?" And I said Mercedes Lane, and she's like, "Great choice. It has a better flow to it." So she wrote out the whole character for me and things like that. I mean, so accommodating, and even the way she took the picture with me, she was giving the peace sign to every single guest that took a picture with her. So you can definitely tell she had a lot of fun at the show. And even when, and what's kind of funny is she saw my Andrew Dice Clay T-shirt, and we were talking a lot about Dice, and she was telling me like, "Man, you really want to maybe watch his stand-ups again," because she's a big Dice fan. And I was telling her how I saw him in concert a few years ago, and she was asking me about what that was like and things like that. And she's like, "Boy, you really want to make me watch his stand-up stuff again and things like that. And even when the picture was when I got my picture taken with her, she was asking me more and more questions. She was like, so hey, what are some of your other favorite comedians and things like that? And we were talking about Richard Pryor and Sam Kinison, and she's like, oh my god, I love Richard Pryor. So it's just really cool. Like this lady was asking me questions about me. Like it was like she really wanted to make sure like I was the sole focus of the whole conversation, like me as the fan. So you could not have asked for a more nicer person than Heather Graham. And I am so glad that Philly Fan Expo was able to get her. She was fantastic. I cannot say more about her. So, anyways, getting onto the pictures and all that stuff. Here's my picture with me and the absolutely lovely Heather Graham. And here is Heather Graham's autograph on my License to Drive DVD. Okay, now getting on to the last person I met at the show. The very last person I met was Ashley Greene. Now, all of you know Ashley Greene as Alice from the Twilight films, but she's been in more stuff than just that, though. I remember her mostly as the voice of Batgirl in Batman Arkham Knight, the video game. And, of course, she was in the horror film The Apparition, which I had a personalized 8x10 that I printed out myself of The Apparition. Because I heard so many bad things about The Apparition and things like that, I decided to give it a look, and I'm like, you know what, this film really isn't that too bad. I think it's pretty decent for what it is. I know it had like a very low rating and had like a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm like, I've seen worse horror films than this. I mean, like, I'm sorry, people. Like, I don't think The Apparition is that bad of a film. It has some creepy moments here and there, and I thought the acting was pretty good. So, 3%, I mean, I'm sorry, like, have you seen, I don't know, for when it comes to bad horror films, I mean, I take it over Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills. I take it over those things like that. I hate to say it, but at least like this was its own standalone thing. But I'm getting off tangent here. But I don't think The Apparition was that bad of a film. So kind of a funny story with this. But Ashley Greene, right out the bat, really nice lady, just like with Heather Graham. Really, really nice lady, talkative, and talked with me for like 5 minutes or so. The funny story is, I was browsing, like I was fumbling around IMDb and YouTube, and I saw that she was on she was on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast talking about her career. As she talked about how she wasn't too big on The Apparition, she was disappointed of how it turned out, things like that. And then I realized, like, it was after I printed out the photo, and it was going to be the day I was going to go to the show. And I realized, oh no, like, I don't want to be that guy that brings up something that they're not a fan of, and things like that. So, but then I saw, like, when I got to her table, she did have an 11x17 of The Apparition. So I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe she was disappointed of how it, turned out. Maybe she expected it to be a bigger hit. Things like that. So when it got to, she's like, oh my god, like, lovely. She loved the print that I printed out of The Apparition. And I was telling her, like, hey, I heard, you weren't really, you weren't too positive on this. I know you were a little disappointed of how it turned out. And she was like, yeah. She's like, I was really more disappointed of how it turned out box office wise, how how it got released, and a lot of stuff was cut out and things like that. But she said despite all that, she had a really good experience working on the film with the director. She really loved working with Sebastian Stan and Tom Felton. And I was even telling her, like, I was so afraid to bring this up to her because I did not want to be that guy that brought up something that she wasn't a fan of. And she felt so sorry for me. She was like, oh, no. Like, you don't have to be sorry. Like, there was no need to be nervous and things like that. And, I'm more than happy to sign this for you. It was just me. I was just disappointed of how it came out when it was released, and not about the film particularly itself, but just of how it was released and things like that, and how it was cut up. And but she still, like she said, like, but I still had a great experience working on the film and things like that. So she could not have been more of a nicer person, and she was so understanding of the whole thing, and it's just a really really nice lady. Just I it kind of reminded me of the whole Jill Sholin thing, where with cutting class, and I started so nervous bringing that up to her, and they're like, "Oh no, nothing to be nervous about. I'll sign it for you, no problem." So, like I said, like that really made me feel good about meeting Ashley Green and me liking the apparition. So that was just really awesome of her to ease my nerves a little bit and things like that. Talking with me and things like that. Just an awesome person overall. Just like with Heather Graham, she was super sweet, Ashley Green. So and I really love the gold Sharpie she picked out. It really pops out really well because it's kind of a dark photo, my apparition photo I printed out. So I was really really pleased with how that turned out and things like that. But getting onto the pictures and all that stuff. So here is my picture with me and the lovely Ashley Green. And here is the autographed item that she signed. And that's pretty much it, everybody. That is the Philly Fan Expo recap video for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. You guys take care.